So, Rob, we should talk about emoji because emoji seems to be the only thing that's going on in the news this week.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
There's nothing else.
it keeps our friend Mr. Burge very busy, but it doesn't really do much for too many people beyond that because I think he's the only person I know who actually can make a living off of emoji, which I'm a little jealous of, I gotta say.
Yeah, I imagine the number is fairly small of who's
Yeah.
making money off emoji.
But Jeremy Burge, who's the founder and creator of Emojipedia, he was. I know that I was just telling you a little while ago before we started recording that he was on Connected today talking about some of today's news, which is there's been a big kerfluffle about emoji use in iOS apps, and that Apple is rejecting developers' apps because they're using it. As far as I can tell, the situation where people get themselves in trouble is when they use emoji as a replacement for an icon or as some other kind of decorative feature, as opposed to, they're not rejecting, say, Facebook Messenger because you can drop an emoji into a message. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about emojis that are kind of embedded in the design, the UI of the app itself.
Yeah, this is kind of weird. I know that obviously Apple's emojis are copyrighted. I think you can't you can't just take their emoji and use them somewhere else.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. This seems just to be one of these things that I don't know. Somebody in app review or somebody higher up has mentioned, oh yeah, if people are using emoji, don't let them through, and it's kind of haphazard, and it's not really hitting everybody that's doing it.
Yeah, there are a couple of issues. I mean, I think the first one is that this is what happens when you let the lawyers into the loop, right? I mean,
Right.
I'm kind of familiar with that from days gone by. And it's very easy for some lawyer in Apple somewhere to say, hey, you know what? Those pictures, that's our property, and other people shouldn't be using them to make money off their in their apps, right? It's a whole other thing to actually implement that and enforce it because there's a ton of gray area here, and it's even further cloudy and muddied by the fact that the emoji are part of a worldwide standard, and they're also part of a font set that I assume, I have not looked into this, but I assume that when you buy an iPhone or any other Apple product for that matter that allows you to type into it, that you're getting a license to use the fonts that come with that, which include emoji, right?
Yeah, I mean that sounds about right to me. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a difference between the Unicode spec, which is just kind of like it's a standard of sorts, right? It's the implementation, I think, is the part that Apple has property over and can actually enforce. It's the pictures that they've drawn, which are different than Microsoft's or Google's or anybody else's.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Unicode offer a more like a set of guidelines.
Right.
And they say, right, this is what it should look like, but in reality, I mean, you can go on Emojipedia and see a lot of this where Samsung kind of just pick and choose whatever they want to do, and it looks like nobody else's.
Right. Or the Google ones that look like gumdrops. I mean, I think they've changed that, but I hated those emoji.
Yeah, so did I.
You had to live very intimately with them when you had your Android phone. I just had to see them every now and then, like in Emojipedia, for instance, because you can go to Emojipedia. It's a great place to go and just see like how the different companies that use emoji are representing them. So you can see all the different frogs side by side and see how Apple does it versus Microsoft versus Google or someone else.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of these rejections, I think I don't know. I don't know what the ins and outs of it are, and Jeremy's been trying to kind of get to the bottom of what's going on, and he seems to be getting sort of a bunch of conflicting information as to what is actually triggering these rejections. So who knows what's going to happen?
Right, and I'll tell you, I went and looked because we've covered at Mac Stories some very emoji heavy apps in the past. And some of them are still there on the store. And as far as I can tell, I think I might have read somewhere on Emojipedia in one of the news stories recently that it doesn't appear that Apple's going back, at least yet, and retroactively changing approvals on apps. Maybe they're just waiting until they come up for, updates and that sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's tends to be
yeah.
how these things go. There's a bit of outrage. Apple will presumably, hopefully, sort it out. I mean, it's easy for us to say, but there are developers who are making their whole living from putting apps on the App Store, and they might just get rejected at will for some arbitrary reason like this.
Yeah, well, I guess it's good that people at least know now not to. They have to be careful. I mean, I even saw, for instance, I've seen people in their settings pages will have like a tip jar or something, and they'll have like use the emoji for money, right? Next to the tip jar.
Yeah.
It's like, well, is that allowed? It's not really. It's buried in the settings, and it's really in the text, in a text label, as opposed to being exactly like an icon that you would tap on that does something. There's a lot of gray area. And I also have seen that emoji are continuing to be used in notifications by some of the news outlets and that kind of thing, including Apple News. I've seen, though I suppose they've got the right to do that if they own the emoji. There are emoji in some notifications as well, which are another one where it's like, well, that's okay. That's someone typed that text in somewhere, right? It's
yeah. I mean, that is text. I don't really think there's any sort of claim to say that's anything but
right.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, that's the thing, is that like I said, there's just a lot of gray areas, and that's a really gray one, I guess. But on I guess a lighter note, that just before we started recording, there was announced the next 157 prospective emoji. These are not approved emoji. I think that happens sometime in the summertime, but these are emoji that are under consideration for approval by the Unicode Consortium.
Yeah, that's 157. That's a lot. I mean, I think some of that includes like skin tone combinations,
yes,
and male, female, and stuff like that. So it's not quite as many as it might sound initially.
Right. So if you have there's a new red hair version, and that then you multiply that times however many skin tones there are. I think it's like five or six. So that's the kind of thing. It gets the number up there pretty fast.
Yeah, loads of hairstyles. So we've got, as you say, got redhead. There's a afro one. We've got bald, and then there's some gray, well, I guess white hair, but I suppose it's kind of grey white hair. And then we've got some superheroes. And those have all got different hair colors as well. So there's a bunch of different combinations going on there.
Right, and then there's a super villain and a woozy person that looks like they're drunk, and a hot and a cold face. I like the pirate flag a lot. That'll come in handy, I think.
Yeah, I've just spotted we've got a raccoon coming. Yep. I don't know what on earth I will use that for, but I'm sure I'll find a reason.
Oh, and there's a kangaroo and a lobster. And a mosquito. I'm looking at the Unicode article and just pulling out a few of them here. And a firecracker, which I like the firecracker. That'll be a good one.
Skateboard. I'm kind of amazed that isn't there already. I kind of thought that was.
Right. That's the kind of thing where you at some point you're like, I didn't know that didn't exist. Here's a softball.
Oh, I've just spotted a perfect one.
What's that?
We're getting a thread emoji. For threads.
Oh, very nice.
It's a little roll of thread. That's going to be useful for the hot takes on Twitter.
So will the firecracker, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot here. It's an interesting set. I mean, they won't all be approved. I think history has shown that there's always a few that fall by the wayside, but for the most part, they tend to get adopted. It seems at least the last couple of years.
This one's going to cause problems. There is a roll of toilet paper. So you know what's going to happen.
Well, that's a good combo. That's a good combo right there.
Well,
with the smiling pile.
I'm sure that one of the vendors is going to put the toilet roll round the wrong way. I'm not saying which way I'm saying is the right or wrong.
Yeah, I wonder if that's part of the spec, which direction it goes. There's a proposal to make certain emoji bi-directional, so you can have like the running person going left or right, or the train or that kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be good. I had that today. I really needed the car going the other way.
Oh, I know. The car's always going the wrong way.
Yeah, it's frustrating. But, these are
Yeah.
the problems I have.
Well, the airplane's going the wrong way too. There's a lot of things where it's like you want to say I'm going from here to there, and there's always one portion of it that's facing the wrong direction.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah, as you say, this is a pretty reasonable. I think at this point I'm not particularly feeling like I'm missing any emoji. Like there's so many different faces and objects and stuff like that. But this is a pretty good set, I think.
Oh, I see that. I see that you did a little something with Matt Alexander's picture on Twitter.
I did.
I like this.
For anyone who's
That's Matt's Back magazine. That's a pretty good episode of Bonanza. If you listen to this show and you don't listen to Bonanza, you really should, because I wouldn't actually even know Rob if it weren't for the predecessor of Bonanza, which was Bionique.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I did that while I was listening on the way to work this morning, and decided to put a little magazine cover together.
I like it's a very strange picture of Matt staring at the ceiling.
Yeah.
Because he's doing some talks, so he always has interesting photography online. So, all right, well,
but yeah, as you say, if you listen to this show, go listen to Bonanza, because it's a slightly better version of this. So maybe
it's much better.
It's very similar, very similar, but a lot better.
Yeah, it's a lot better. It's very funny. I was listening to myself this morning while I was shoveling snow, because we finally have gotten hit with the real winter weather in Chicago, and we've gotten a couple of good 2 to 3 inch dumps the last couple of nights, and then we're supposed to get a bigger storm later in the week. So this was just the warm up to get me ready for shoveling snow. That's how I start my day now, is I shovel snow for an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, it's my exercise. It's better than nothing, I guess. I just sit here at my desk all day, so I got to get out. I got out. That's my only time I've been outside today. Was at like 6 o'clock this morning.
Good for you. At least you've been outside once.
I have. Everybody comes home at the end of the day. Did you go out today? No. Why would I do that? It's cold. So,
talking of being cold, which is something that I guess you mentioned, and I've tweeted it last week, but I went to a wedding last weekend and had to wear a kilt.
I know. I threatened to call it your skirt, but I know it's a kilt because I know people from Scotland. But yeah, you were at a wedding. Was it in England or was it in Scotland?
No. It was in England.
Okay.
It was in a little village called Byberry, I think it's called.
Oh.
It's fairly popular with tourists.
Where is that?
Do you know what? I don't really know.
Okay.
Is
it north? Is it at least like it's got to be vaguely north from you, I assume.
Oh, everything's north.
Everything's north.
Yeah, it's about a 2-hour drive from me.
Okay.
I mean, that's like halfway across the country for us. But
sure, that feels like nothing to me.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the guy getting married, Ali, his dad is Scottish, so he wanted to wear a kilt, and he got all of the groomsmen to wear kilts as well.
Nice. I didn't know it was Ali's wedding. I know him from Twitter. He's a good guy.
Yeah, exactly. No, different Ali.
Oh, different Ali.
Not the Ali that you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Different guy.
Okay. All right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, it was. They're very complicated to put on.
Are they?
There's a lot more.
Really?
There's a lot more buckles and the belt, and there's all sorts going on. It's not quite as easy as it seems.
Yeah, and then you're probably there's a little bit of anxiety about there whether the thing just you do it wrong and it just comes off at some point in the evening.
That was a problem that I had. I think the guy who'd measured me had measured me slightly wrong.
Oh no!
And the one he'd given me, although it fit, it kind of only just fit perfectly. Like I couldn't tighten it up.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of spent a lot of the day just concerned that it was going to fall down.
At some point, you just don't care, though. You go to the dinner afterwards. You have a few drinks.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it looked like you were enjoying some good steak at that reception.
Well, the steak was incredible. It was these huge bricks of steak that they'd cooked outside on this big grill thing, open fire grill. And for the table, I think there was like 8 of us on the table, and they brought over like 3 of these bricks and handed me the knife so I could carve it.
Wow.
And I was very generous. I did everyone. I said, has everybody got enough meat? And everyone was like, I've got more than enough. And then I still had about a brick and a half of steak left. So I just sat there and ate that. I didn't have any of the potatoes. I didn't have the vegetables. I just had steak.
Oh, wow. That'll give you what they call the meat sweats.
Oh, yes. I was definitely suffering from that.
Oh, that sounds really good. That sounds excellent. Hopefully you had good weather. They were outside grilling steaks in the wintertime. But
well, they had a cover over it, I guess.
Okay.
The weather wasn't ideal. The Friday when we arrived, it was really sunny. It rained a little bit on the Saturday, which is when the wedding was, and then on the Sunday it was really sunny as well, which is fairly typical of England.
Yeah,
so
sure.
So let's wrap it up for this week. I think it's been quiet. I think you as a writer of Apple things will know it's been fairly quiet.
Extremely quiet. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's some new emoji. We can talk. Everyone can write about that for the next week or so until something more interesting happens.
Well, yeah, and the only other thing I guess obviously that's happening is the HomePod, and I don't have it in my hot little hands yet. I should have it in a couple of days, and next time we talk, we can chat about that a little bit.
Yes, I will put that in the show notes ready for us next time we record, because I have some questions. So yeah, I'll make a note of those. This week's show notes will be at ruminatepodcast.com. I'm not sure what episode number we're on, so it'll be the latest one.
Yes, somewhere in the 50s, I think.
John, you're on Twitter at
Yes.
John Voorhees.
Yep.
And I'm there as well at RM Lewis UK. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Talk to you later, Rob.
Bye.